And we should be live. Let me know if everyone can see me, you can hear me. It's so great to see so many of you in the chat, but let me know if this is your first time ever tuning in to a Discover workshop, if you've been here for every single one. I'm really looking forward to seeing new faces, familiar faces here in the chat. And I'm also really looking forward to today's workshop, and I think it is very timely for all of us. We are joined with none other than Nat Eliason, and he's the founder of the marketing agency Growth Machine. He writes on productivity, learning, writing, and so much more at nateliason.com. And it's funny, I've been following your blog, Nat, for I think before we even met, which was pretty interesting. And his work has been featured in TechCrunch, Shopify, Mixergy, Lifehacker, Business Insider, and his articles are read by more than 450,000 people each month. But what I'm really looking forward to in today's workshop is that, Nat, you have been studying personal knowledge development for over 10 years. So would love to kind of know what we can expect in today's workshop, what is Rome, and what we're going to cover. And welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Aside from being interested in the personal knowledge management space, I've also been a Teachable customer since it was just like, I think, one or two people working on it. So it's been amazing seeing everything that you all are doing over there. And I think this has definitely been my most well-received course and product I've done on Teachable. So it's been a lot of fun getting to use that and interact with the community. And yeah, I'm just excited to be here and share a little bit about Rome today. So basically, I am going to be sharing a little bit about Rome, which is a tool for personal knowledge management. I'll explain a little bit more in a moment. I just want to make sure, Jess, should I be able to see questions or anything from participants?
I just sent you the link to the chat page, so you'll be able to see everyone's questions there. And
Oh.
also, we will be having a Q&A at the end. So if there is anything that you want us to like dive in more, you have specific questions for Nat, definitely keep your questions coming in the chat and we'll circle back to them at the end.
Awesome. Okay. Y'all have such fancy technology for this. I love it. Cool. Well, I think the best thing to do is just dive on in. And I'm going to be doing this a little bit differently than what everyone's probably used to seeing in these presentations. I figured instead of making a deck, it made much more sense to actually do the whole presentation in Rome. So we are going to do it like this. If you're not familiar with Rome, I'm going to explain things as we're going. If you are familiar with Rome, this might give you some cool insights into why I think it's so awesome. And obviously, I do have a course on Rome, but I'm going to try to provide as much value as I can here without you having to buy it. But if you do want to check it out later, it's just at teachable.com/natrome. And last thing, everything that I'm going to be doing today for this Rome demo is in a publicly available Rome database, so you can always come back and look at it more later. Jess, I'm also not going to have the chat up as I'm going. So if you see a really good question or something, feel free to interrupt me at any point and let me know.
Wonderful. We'll do.
Cool. Alrighty then, let's dive in. So my name is Nat. I'm the founder of the marketing agency Growth Machine and writer at nateliason.com. So we mostly work with a lot of like tech companies, e-commerce and SaaS, helping them do their marketing. And then I write on my personal site that has sort of like grown over time and helped me find opportunities to do cool things like this. I was also very early on the like Rome research bandwagon. And so my article on it was very popular and created a lot of initial interest in Rome. And I still show up on the front page of Google if you search for Rome research. So basically, this course was created at the beginning of 2020. It's been taken by some 2,000 plus students since then. And the reason I fell in love with Rome was because it really stood out to me as the first all-in-one tool for knowledge work. And I use it for absolutely everything I do now, including all my writing, all my project management. It replaced my like to-do list. I use it in a lot of cases where I've used Google Docs in the past. If it's not something within my company, if it's like a personal project, I use it in place of Asana and whatnot. So it's been a huge game changer for basically how I do everything across the different projects that I have going on. And so today we're going to see why I think it's so great and some of the areas where it really shines. So with that, we can dive into why Rome. Uh, Rome is really the first great productivity tool for what they and I call networked thought, right? So it lets you build connections between what you're learning and reading and doing in a way that no other app does a very good job of. When we think of most traditional productivity tools like Notion and Evernote, they are built on this traditional kind of like filing cabinet hierarchy where you have a top level page and then you might have things nested under that and then things nested under that, right? Evernote has their kind of like three levels where they've got the note, they have the notebooks that each note goes in, and the notebooks can be in stacks, and that's sort of it. Whereas Notion has kind of infinite layering, right? You can have a page within a page within a page within a page, but it's still this vertical hierarchy of information. Where Rome really succeeds is creating this web of networked thoughts. So there is no built-in hierarchy to data in Rome, and you can create one if you want it, but it's essentially unnecessary because beyond what you have on an individual page, the page's relationships to each other is non-hierarchical and it's much more of a web, much in the way that our brains operate, right? Like our brains are not filing cabinets, they're these kind of like interconnected web of thoughts. And so, after trying essentially every productivity, note taking, personal knowledge management tool out there, Rome was the first one where I used it and went like, oh wow, they actually solved this problem, or they're in the process of solving this problem. They really figured it out.
And sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
quick note, Nat, would it be possible to zoom in? I think some people are having trouble
Oh,
seeing
are we?
the text, but I also will give you a quick tech tip. So if you're watching this video and it does look a little bit blurry, hover on the gear icon on the bottom right of the video and then select 720p HD. It is going to make things so much more crisp.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
And I just zoomed in a little bit. So everyone let me know, or Jess, let me know if people say that is better. Um, but yeah, so essentially what makes Roam so special is the native support for bidirectional linking. In most tools and in most of the internet, right, links are one directional, right? So if I put a link to the Teachable website doesn't automatically get a link back to my site, nor should it, because that's not really how we want the internet to work. But when we're talking about ideas and notes, we do want to automatically create relationships back and forth between different things that we're taking notes on. So as a really simple example here, if I'm, taking notes on this article, the Permanent Portfolio Investing Guide by Josh Kaufman, and then if I'm adding some of these tags to it, right, you can see that there's a bunch of different things that it's being tagged on. If I go to my investing tag, you can see anything that's been linked to the investing tag, right? And we're going to get into this more later, but so Permanent Portfolio Investing Guide is here. And then obviously you can see that we're linking to investing here as well. So anytime you create a relationship from one page to another, the other page that you're linking to creates a relationship back to where you've linked it from. And we're going to see why this is powerful pretty soon here. So going back to here, this basically allows Rome to provide a really great framework for productivity, for knowledge management, for creative output, journaling, personal CRM, and then most importantly, by having all of your like information in one place, along with all of your project management, you create much better flows across everything that you're like learning, reading, doing than if you're using a bunch of different siloed apps that you have to link in and out of to try to get everything to play nicely together. So like I said, it works great for all of these areas, right? Productivity, knowledge management, whatnot. And I'm going to go through some examples of each one. And again, if there's any good kind of like high level questions, feel free to stop me at any time. So let's start with project management. Uh, Rome is really good for organizing everything that you need in order to complete any projects that you're working on. So I went ahead and I made a few here. And the cool thing about Rome is if we wanted to make another page for a project, say compile notes from Teachable presentation, as soon as you've like typed a bit of text, you can actually just highlight it and surround it in double brackets like that. And in doing so, you've actually created a page for this project. And you can see it's linked back to the project management in Rome where we created it. and we can, jump back and forth between these two pages. But I already made a few pages for this that we can go off of, right? So, finishing the Rome demo materials for this presentation, running the Marine Corps Marathon in DC, and then, baking a sourdough loaf since we're all quarantined and we're all in love with baking now. um, and what's nice about organizing knowledge this way is, like, we'll see, we're going to combine kind of like the task level and the information level to everything that you're doing. So let's hop into the Marine Corps Marathon project. Now, aside from just adding text to your Rome pages, you can add to-dos and tasks as well. So, what needs to be done to, like, run a marathon, right? Well, we can create a to-do. And so I've just done like a slash command to do and said we need to create a 12-week training schedule. Okay, great. I need to find a trainer to work with to stay accountable. And then maybe I need to find a good set of stretches to make sure I'm not injured. All right, so just by doing this, we started creating some of the tasks that are going to go into this project. And if we wanted to, we could nest them under a like necessary steps header, right? And now we're starting to organize, like, okay, here's some of the questions for wanting to fill out. Here's some of the necessary steps, and I can go ahead and make this a heading as well. But this, of course, on its own is not as useful as like most task managers, because these tasks are just living kind of in the ether, right? If I open Rome and I'm on my daily notes, right, like, it's not clear at all that I need to be doing anything, right? Like, none of my tasks are here. So this is where some of the dates and the other time-related functionality comes in. So if I do another slash command and say this needs to be done today, maybe this one needs to be done tomorrow, and then this one needs to be done on Friday. Now we have dates assigned to all of these tasks. And now when I'm on my daily notes page for today, which is the page that shows up when you open your database, I can see that I have this task for something I need to do today, which is create the 12-week training schedule as part of the Marine Corps Marathon, right? And so in doing this, now when I go to these other dates, right, here's for tomorrow, I need to find the trainer. And then, on Friday or whatnot, I need to find the good set of stretches. So just by adding the dates, those are showing up on the daily note pages so that whenever I open Rome on those days, my tasks are right there. But let's say that I didn't get to this today, right? I forgot to make the 12-week training schedule. And then tomorrow, I don't have that task anymore, right? Like, it's gone. I can't see my overdue tasks. Well, Rome also lets you organize and see all of your tasks within one page, right? So if I go to my to-do page, we can hide some of these other ones I've made. Here is those Marine Corps Marathon tasks, right? And so if I wanted to find all the ones that were overdue, right, I could just go in here, find those, and then change them to be due on a future date. And this is actually a query that surfaces some tasks, and these are all of the linked references. So all of the to-dos that I have floating around as things that I need to get done. So this lets us stay on top of all of our tasks, right? I know that if I go to this project, I'm going to see everything that needs to be done in order to complete the project. And if I go to my to-dos page, I can see all the outstanding to-dos that need to be completed, right? Because again, you have that bidirectional linking. So as soon as we add another to-do, right, come up with contingency plan for injury, this is going to show up on that same to-do page, right? So now you can see, right, contingency plan for injury, even though there's no date on it, it's still listed on the page showing all of my to-dos. So this is like the first part of where it can be really great for project management, is letting you manage all of your tasks. But it's also nice for managing all of your projects, because if you look up here, I've added these tags, and this tags with a double colon is actually also a tag. It's kind of like so the funny thing with Rome is that pages and tags are the same thing, right? There's really no difference between a page and a tag, because every tag is its own page, and every page can be used as a tag. So by adding a tag to projects up here, now when I go to my projects page, I can see Run the Marine Corps Marathon is listed here as one of the projects, right? And so is marketing the Rome course, getting 200 students, publishing it, all these other things where I've tagged projects, I can find here on this page. And then if I want to, I can create this query, right? And so what this query is saying is find me all of my projects that are also tagged as in progress. So you'll notice that the couple of projects that we created at the beginning, or that we looked at the start of this, the Marine Corps Marathon and Sourdough Loaf, these both have the in progress tag on them. So they're showing up here, right? Whereas if I took off the in progress for the Marine Corps Marathon, I said, oh, I actually completed that project, it's going to disappear from here. So you can actually create these queries to surface all of your projects that are in progress, and filter out anything that you might have saved for someday later or completed or maybe, and you can just look at all of your active stuff. So what this lets you do is, and I'm going to make this in progress again so it shows up, is let's say that I woke up and I saw my daily notes page, right? I opened my Roam. This is the first thing I see. And I'm asking myself, like, what should I work on today? Right. Well, the first thing I could do is look at my projects page. And what I've done there is by typing this double bracket, I'm creating a link to another page in my database. In this sense, or in this case, I want to look up my projects. And then once I've linked to it, I can use the hotkey Control O to actually go to the page, or I can use the Roam sidebar, which in this case will be Control Shift O, and that's going to open the actual projects page. And we're getting a visual glitch here, probably from zooming in. But by having this in the sidebar, I can see, okay, my active projects right now are Bake the Sourdough Loaf and Run the Marine Corps Marathon. So what I might say is I need to work on these two projects today because they're my active projects. So run the Marine Corps Marathon. And then I'm going to open that in the sidebar as well. And this one's already tagged for today, right? Create the 12-week training schedule, which we can see down here. But if I hold down Option and drag it over, I can create a reference to that task here. So now it's in my daily notes page so I can see it. And I could say, you know what, let's also work on finding the trainer to stay accountable. And just by doing this, I've started to figure out like what I want to focus on today and surface the tasks that are relevant to me. And so as you create more projects and as you start adding tags, keeping things organized, you can track your progress on more and more projects over time. And you can like manage all the information, all the tasks, all the intermediate steps, every single thing you're doing better and better. This might seem like a lot and kind of like maybe overwhelming or too complex at times, but it's one of those things where the more you use it and the more you get used to it, the faster it becomes. And some of the, I guess, like ugliness, because Roam isn't like a beautiful app yet, some of the ugliness actually is nice for getting out of the way and letting you just focus on the core things that are important and letting you build a system that works for you instead of being forced into a more narrowly constrained task manager or project manager. But what this is, like I was saying, what this is letting us do is, keeping everything we need to do for the Marine Corps Marathon or whatever other project on its page, and then pulling stuff into our daily actions or our daily focus based on what we want to work on today. So that lets it be really powerful as a project manager and task manager. But where it can get more powerful is when we start bringing in some of the knowledge management. And before I show you some of the knowledge management, I want to show you one quick example of a more fleshed out project page, just to give you some idea of kind of how detailed you can get with this, because I don't have time to build out like a full project for you right now, but I can show you this from my personal database, which is the project for the Roam course, right? So I've got some success criteria. I've got notes on pricing, naming, the timeline, and the plan, right? So this has all of the subtasks that I needed to do in order to get the project launched. I've got some of the marketing. I've got like all these test databases. I've got other little tasks that I need to get done. And then I have this full table of contents for the course, right? And this is like very, very useful because as I'm recording things, I can keep checking in here and I can say, okay, today I'm going to work on intro to using Roam. I can navigate into this bullet. Then I could say, all right, I need to make this video. And here's my like rough outline for this video. And then once the video is done, I can tag it published. And the cool thing about adding tags and stuff on your pages like this, especially for project management, is let's say that I'd published, these ones, but not these. On any Roam page, you can actually filter in or filter out certain tags. So if I hide the publish tag, now I'm only looking at the things that I haven't published yet. And so even if you're not using the to-dos, right, you can still use other tags to manage what's like shown and hidden on any individual page. And so if you're managing a huge project like making the Rome course was, it becomes a really, really powerful way to organize both your knowledge on the project and all the intermediate steps. So let's look a little bit more at what knowledge management looks like, because the Marine Corps Marathon one was a great example of creating the tasks, but now we want to look more at managing like everything that you know in one place along with your projects. So the Bake a Sourdough Loaf project is a good one for this. You can see that, like last time, I've got my projects and my in progress tag up here, and then I have some of the tasks, and I'm going to create kind of a tasks heading here and indent all of those under it. And then down here, we have the knowledge management in Rome, right? So what other info do we need for completing this project, right? And the question here would be, to do these tasks, like what info should I be pulling into this page to make sure it's as useful as possible? So I'm just going to call this maybe info for baking. I've already pulled in a couple of other resources, things that I've read or looked up that will help us fill out this page. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Art of Fermentation book notes. So this is a great book by Sander Katz, all about like the history of fermentation, how to ferment things, different kinds of things you can ferment, ways to experiment with flavors. Really good book, highly recommend it. And he has a good section in here on sourdough. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to look. Obviously, we could do Command F for sourdough, but here I found it. Okay. So the simplest way of starting a sourdough from scratch is to do all of this. Okay, so this is great. This is exactly what we need to do that project, right? But just looking at it on this page is fine and one way to get started, but I want all of it in my my actual project page. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to open this in the sidebar, and then we're going to scroll down to that same part about the sourdough. Okay, so I'm going to indent this, how to start a starter from scratch. I'll indent it again, and then I'm going to highlight all of these and then hold down that option and drag them over here. And now I have all of those notes like right here on the project page so that I know how to do this without having to actually go to the book. And what's cool about this is, obviously once I have this starter started, I can hide this and, I don't need it cluttering up too much space. But let's say that I'm looking at this and I'm not sure, like if there's any other context I need. I can either click on it to go, straight to this bullet point and see the context that it exists in, or if we go back, we can again use the sidebar. So if I shift click it, then I can see, okay, it was on the art of fermentation on that page, and I could shift click that and see all the other notes from that page. The other thing that I might do here is I might see what stuff do I have linking to my sourdough tag. So I could do Command U, which opens up the search bar, and type sourdough. And then I'm going to open this in the sidebar. And then I'm going to see what are the linked references to sourdough. So here's the way of starting it from scratch, which I already pulled in. But then there's also this. Since I break bread so sporadically, I like using it to make pancakes. Oh, okay. You can make sourdough pancakes sweet, better using a small portion of the starter. Oh, okay. So this is kind of cool, right? So I might create another bullet that says like alternative recipe sourdough pancakes. And then again, I'm just going to hold down Alt, drag that in, and now I have the pancake recipe here as well. So what I've started doing is kind of like collecting information from my other pages in my database, and then using it to make this projects page become like the all-in-one source of like information that I need without having to go back to these other pages. And if I wanted to, I could actually just make a whole dedicated how to make sourdough page with these same resources, and then I'd have it separate from this one-time project. But either work, right? The important thing is once you create something in one place, you're able to reference those exact like blocks of information anywhere else in your database and start to build up more and more relations between your pages and start reusing information you already have instead of always having to go out and get more information. right? So what's really cool about this and what I love about it is if you're using a task manager like Asana or things or whatever, there's really no good support for knowledge management in it, right? You're not going to keep your notes from a book in Asana. You're going to have to link out from Asana to Evernote or somewhere else and like go there to get your notes and then like come back to Asana and like you're going back and forth all the time. Right. Same thing with managing all of your knowledge in Evernote. Like Evernote is not a good task manager. And you can use the links between Evernote and something like Things to jump back and forth between your tasks and your notes. But again, they're not like unified. Whereas by doing everything right in Rome like this, you can see that like my knowledge is right here, my tasks are right here. Everything that I need for this project is all in one place, and I don't have to go anywhere else. So if we go back up here, I've kind of gone over how we can enrich these project pages or just these info pages to create these really great resources, right? Like if you look at the art of fermentation page again, there's like so much value here in the sense of anything related to fermentation, cooking, health is going to show up here. There's stuff about like sauerkraut and brewing beer, kombucha. Like I've organized my book notes in a very useful sense so that if I start any of these other projects in the future, I know exactly like what stuff from this book to pull out and how to use it. So organizing your knowledge in Rome like this just makes all of your other projects way more effective. And then it also makes it a little bit easier to do your own creative output. So, my course is called Effortless Output in Rome because the point is not to become an expert at Rome as much as it is to be able to do more with like less effort. And for me, a lot of that comes back to writing, newsletters, like marketing ideas, like hiring projects, like growing my business, right? I want to be able to do all of that while spending less time searching for information and without losing things that I'm learning or losing ideas that I'm having or any of that. So the creative output, what Rome allows you to do is really kind of like the end goal. So the thing that you really want to be like using information for is like, okay, if I'm collecting all of this stuff and I'm doing all these things, how can I then use that to like create and do more? And one of the main things that I use Realm for is to create my newsletter, which is called the Monday Medleys. So I'm going to open this example up here, which is basically the entire written medley, which I do in Rome, and then I just copy and paste into the email service provider that I use, ConvertKit. So essentially, the medley is a weekly email of kind of like interesting things I've found and read. And so I'm sharing quotations from it. I'm linking out to things, and you can tell there's like a lot of stuff in here, right? So I have to read quite a bit each week in order to like make sure that I have good stuff to add to this. So the way I do it is as I'm reading stuff each week, I will add my notes from those articles into my Rome database. So we can actually, look at some of these things. Food, fried, and vegetable oil might contain toxic compounds. So this is a, Science Daily post that I read that week about, the potential harms of food, fried, and vegetable oil. I copied out some notes from it and saved it here. I tagged it for vegetable oils, health, fried food, nutrition, H&E, and then I tagged medley 205, right? And that's the medley that you saw it in. And the reason that I added that tag is that when I go to write this medley on like the Friday or Monday before it goes out, then down here I have all of these different articles that are tagged to be added to this newsletter to make it really quick for me to go through everything I'm reading and pull in good ideas. But also, of course, as I'm doing this, since I'm tagging these other things like vegetable oils and health, fried food, nutrition, I can go look at my vegetable oil tag and I can see like, oh, okay, I've got a bunch of research here, and then I've got a few other articles that reference vegetable oils that I can go look at. And from here I could go deeper and I could say, well, what else do I have that's related to nutrition? And okay, now I've got all of these different articles. I've got some books. I've got a whole bunch of things. So if I'm working on my newsletter and I want to pull out more resources to link to in it, it's all already right there in my database, and it's all already linked to the things that that article is related to. So what's cool about Rome in that sense is that it has this wonderful like compounding interest effect where as you keep working on it over time, more and more, stuff in it gets tagged and related. And so your knowledge on different subjects gets larger and larger, and you don't need to keep digging up pieces of information for everything that you're interested in. So if you're doing something like a newsletter or like a weekly roundup, it's incredible for like speeding that up and making sure that you're not just like sharing stuff and then losing all the value, right? That it's kind of contributing to something kind of compounding. And then the other thing it's really good for is like writing articles. So this is a piece I was working on at one point on the idea of reading slower. And this is an outline for an article. And you can see at the top, I have all the tags that it's related to, right? And then I have some sources that I'm pulling ideas from. And for creating this outline, basically all I had to do was start opening up some of these other tags and seeing, okay, what info do I have on personal knowledge management and what else is linking to personal knowledge management? And then from this, what should I incorporate into an article on why somebody should read slower? And if you look closely, some of these are some of these lines are things that I actually wrote, right? So, annealing, honing the samurai sword. But this is actually a quotation from the book The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin. So it looks like something I wrote, but in reality, I just created a reference to this page. And by doing it like this, I'm pulling in bits from other things that I've read that I'm going to incorporate as quotations. But the source is preserved. I know exactly where to go to find anything else related to that. And all of this creates a nice outline that I could then, start refining and turning into more of an article. So if you're trying to like write more or create more, that could even be like scripts for YouTube or like ideas for projects at work. Starting to organize all of your stuff like this is really, really helpful because it's going to give you a lot of ideas for like how to create more of it or things to include in it. One of the things that I do is I have an article ideas tag in Rome. And anytime I have an idea for an article, I just drop it in that article ideas tag. And then I can always go to that tag when I need an idea for articles to write. And I can see, okay, these are all the ideas I had. These are some of the ones that are recurring or similar themes. I can combine them into one idea. And then I can start going through all the related tags and finding information I've already saved that's relevant to those. And it almost like writes itself, right? So it has this like awesome value over time where the more you do in it, the easier and easier it gets to create things. And the easier and easier it gets to like use your own knowledge to do more for less effort. And then the last kind of area where Rome really shines is by naturally encouraging journaling. So I kind of already showed you this, but Rome starts you off on what's called your daily notes page, right? So whenever you open Rome, you get this prompt for a daily note, and it's where you can record anything that you're doing today. So something that I might do here is go down here, and then I can say, gave the Teachable, and I'm going to link Teachable, of course, presentation on the Rome course. And then I'll also probably tag the Teachable Rome demo. Now, what's nice about this is if I'm ever on my Teachable tag in the future, I can see that on June 23rd, today, I gave that Teachable presentation. If I'm ever on the Rome course tag, I can see that on June 23rd, I gave the demo. And then, of course, if I'm on the Teachable Rome demo page as well, we can see that on June 23rd, I gave the demo. So what's neat about this is it creates like just a natural form of journaling. I've never been good at journaling. It's never something that's really stuck for me. But by just doing stuff in Rome, it naturally creates a journal for things you're working on. Right. So my wife and I opened a cafe in Austin called Cup and Leaf. And I can see here that, oh, okay, on January 26th, I was in the cafe working on video editing. And on the 27th, I ran to my friend Anthony at the cafe. And I actually love this kind of journaling in Rome more than almost anything else, because if you start tagging people, then you start to like get, you don't get more out of your relationships, but you can kind of like track and see your relationships better. So I can see times that I've hung out with different people. I can see books that my friends have recommended so that I could go back and like thank them for the recommendation later. I can like see any of their personal information, right? I could see like, oh, I like saw Parasite with Justin and Taylor on this day, where like I completely forgot that I did that. And it like lets you start to see, what you're getting or what you're doing with your friends over time in a way that, isn't really naturally done by any other app. And especially if you're somebody who does a lot of creative work or works with a lot of different people, tracking who you're working with on different things over time. And I could even make a little note on any of those pages to follow up later, right? So let's say that I'm giving this demo today, and then I should say like thank Encore for suggesting the presentation. And what I'm going to do, of course, is I'll tag this with a date for like, maybe I'll say Tuesday, because then I can let them know, how like the sales or whatever went from it. And so, of course, now if I'm on June 30th next week, I can see that I'm supposed to thank Ankur for suggesting the presentation, which is related to Teachable, Roam course, and the Roam demo. So it's just like the more you put into it, the more everything links together, and the more you can see all of your relationships, all of your projects, all of your creative output, all of that evolving over time. So it really is like this wonderful all-in-one tool for knowledge work. So if you're either doing something creative or trying to do more stuff that's creative, if you read a lot and you want to try to like get more out of what you read, if you want to try to like learn a new skill and record your knowledge on it and absorb it better, it's really, really powerful for it. And the whole reason I created the course is I hopefully it seemed a little less insane and intimidating by the time we got to the end of it. But when you first drop into Roam, there's like this empty daily notes page and like nothing else, and there's no onboarding. And so the goal of the course is just to speed up that learning curve a little bit. So if it makes sense on its own, obviously you can just like go play with it. And I highly recommend it because, like I said, I do literally everything in here now, and I love it. But if not, and you want to like accelerate the learning process a little bit, that's pretty much what the course does. Just gets you from like zero to expert really quickly so that you can get all of the benefits out of it that I do. And I would encourage you to check out this database as well. It's the one that I did this whole demo in, and it's got lots of other fun little pages. Like you can see all of the different like Roam hotkeys and things I've been doing to like speed up your usage of it, or you can play around with all of the secret and advanced features that we didn't get to, right? Like you can do crazy tables and stuff in Roam, or you can do like visual diagrams to, oh wow, okay, other people added to this diagram, interesting. You can do like visual diagrams for organizing your information. There's like a lot of stuff hidden in here that we didn't even touch on that make it kind of even more powerful. So highly recommend trying it out, playing around with it. And if you want to speed up the learning process, obviously the course is there as well. So yeah, I know I talk kind of fast and covered a lot, so would love to hear what questions everybody has.
Yeah, this is fantastic, Nat. Thank you so much for this. Oh, you guys can still hear me, right? It sounds
Yep.
crisp. Okay, cool. Yeah, we've got quite a few great questions that I'd love to dive in. And then I think some even like larger questions around like your thought process around how you even plan out your to-dos and like the tasks you have. But let's get into the nitty-gritty questions. First off, we have the button above this video. So if you want to join the program that Nat has created all about Roam, we have a special Discover discount. It's at $74. Highly recommend it because I think, Nat, you really go into so much detail in using this, even in today's workshop. So the button is above this video, and please let us know if you end up joining, what you do with it, what your aha moments are. Okay, so we have our questions. First one is, uh, do okay, Kent, if you change text in one place, does that change show in the linked place necessarily?
Yeah, so this is super cool. I'll just show you a live demo of it. Let's say that I've got a link to Teachable here, right? Now, if I go to my Teachable page and for whatever reason, I want to change this to Teachable product, right? So that now that's the new name of the page. Watch what happens down here once I click out of the title. Boom, it just got updated everywhere. So anywhere I had linked to Teachable before, it's now linked to Teachable product, and the just Teachable page is completely gone. Now it's all Teachable product. So this, helps make sure that you don't accidentally like break your links or create double links. And the only caveat with it is that you can actually create an uppercase and a lowercase page, and they are not the same thing. So Some people like this, some people don't like this. They've gone back and forth on it. There's kind of a way around it where you can do aliases. So I could do alias, which means this is going to the Teachable page, but it will present as Teachable. So if you prefer, I want it lowercase, right? This is a way to make it lowercase while still linking to the uppercase page. So that can get a little tricky, that you have to match the cases. But since you're doing this kind of double brackets for linking, it's going to tell you which one you've used before. Although now we have to go delete this page. The other thing that's worth knowing is if you've got a page like this that you created on accident, right? We want it all to be a capital one. We can change it to that, and then it will say, do you want to merge the pages? We can say yes. And now this one that was lowercase is uppercase, and it's going to this page.
Wow. You may have kind of already covered this then, but Rob was wondering, do you intentionally capitalize page names? How do you manage page names? And if unintentionally created one that is, you already covered that. If it's capital, you can make it.
Yeah. I mean, this is sort of like a outstanding philosophical question on how you want to do it. My thinking on it is whenever it's like a noun or a topic or like an area of interest, I'll use capital, and then I use lowercase when it's like a status or a like reference thing. So I guess like the best example would be in like my projects, right? So I use lowercase for in progress and for completed and for someday maybe, because I don't really care about my in progress page that much. And like I want it to be clear that it's a status. Whereas like cooking is definitely an important head page. And so I want that to be capital. You do obviously get the annoying thing of like you have to say like I enjoy cooking. So it's capital. That looks funny. But again, you can do the alias if you really want to make sure that you're using like lowercase in the middle of sentences.
Nice. Let me just go here. So there's some great questions here. Spencer's wondering, how do you manage source links from web pages?
Yeah, so I'll show you an example of that in my personal database. Let's just go back to 205. So what I do for all of my pages that are articles or books is I actually create a source tag at the top. So this is just linking to the original page. And I started to explain this, but so in Rome, there are 3 syntaxes for creating a link. There is this, which is a double colon, which creates like a bold, creates bold text, but also links to it. There's this, and then there's this. So this takes me to the tags page. Right. This takes me to the tags page. And the one with the hashtag also takes me to the tags page. All 3 of these functionally do the exact same thing. They're just different, like they're different aesthetic ways of representing the relationship. So the way I do it is I use the double colon when I'm going to be adding information beside it that is standardized across all my pages. I use the regular double brackets when it's going to be in line. So for like inflammatory disorders, I might make that one an inline reference to inflammatory disorders as its own page. But then at the end of this, right, I might say like LSD and psilocybin, because like LSD and psilocybin are not explicitly in the text, but I want them tagged on this paragraph. So I'm going to add them as tags at the end of it. But there's no difference between this kind of link and this link. It's just an aesthetic thing.
Oh my God, there's so much in this. And I love that you showed all the different use cases as well. Okay, great question from Jen Vermette. Is there a streamlined, not tedious way to transfer my current knowledge system to from Evernote to Roam?
Fortunately not.
Yeah.
I spent the like Christmas New Year break transferring like all of my book notes into it, and that was my like initial way to get set up, because I've got notes from like 250 odd books and they were all in Evernote. And there's just like there was so much stuff to pull in, but I mean, yeah, you're unfortunately doing copy and paste. it does copy in all the formatting, so it'll come
Nice.
over cleanly, but there's no great way to do bulk upload. You can do bulk upload of markdown files, but you're gonna have to do a lot of formatting and whatnot. My philosophy on this is, I've got 2,500 notes in Evernote. I probably transferred like 500 or 600 of them. You might not want to transfer everything because, one, you probably have a lot of stuff that you realize like, oh, I don't actually need this in here. And two, I find Roam is like a very, it's like a very deliberate tool in the sense of you can just drop notes and whatnot into it, but there's so much value comes from like the annotations and the tagging and whatnot that it can be a very like enjoyable experience going through and auditing like your Evernote notebooks and pulling stuff in. So what I did is I basically did like one big notebook per day for a few weeks. So I'd say like, all right, I'm going to do my productivity notebook today. And I went through the notes in there and copied over the ones I want, left the ones I didn't. And then after, a month or two, I had pretty much everything that I wanted copied over. But yeah, that's going to be your fastest way to do it.
So as far as your like just looking at the reasons why you are using Roam compared to Evernote,
Mhm.
compared to Asana, like what is it for you? Like for people maybe are on the fence about like this seems great, but is it worth me switching over? Are there few kind of key things that you find more appealing about Roam besides its simplicity?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is some of this interlinking that I was showing before, right? So if we're on the productivity page, for example, right? What gets really neat here is like, here's everything that I have that is related to productivity in my personal database, right? And if I wanted to, write an article on productivity, this is like the first place I would go. Is I would go here and I would say, okay, what's everything I've read on productivity? And then what about productivity books, right? Or sorry, what about productivity books? Okay, here's all my books that talk about productivity that I've taken notes on. What about stuff that like Cal Newport has said on productivity, right? Like, okay, now it's all right here, and I could
Oh
have
wow.
like a section on some of his stuff. What about like anything related to being productive for entrepreneurs, right? And so now I'm saying like, all right, like how to be a productive entrepreneur, right? And we're going to make this an article. So I'm going to open it in the sidebar and I'm going to say, get notes from, and then I'm going to make some tasks, right? So leverage points, the goal, right? Like I can just quickly go through everything and start like making notes for where I need to pull knowledge out of to like work on these articles. So I'm going to open this in the sidebar and then I'm going to say, okay, leverage points are not intuitive. We intuitively use them backwards, systematically worsening whatever problem we're trying to solve. Let's just say I really love that. I want to pull that in. Okay, like I'm going to use that in the article. I should include these like places to intervene, right? Like you can't do anything close to this with Evernote or Notion, right? Like the speed with which you can go through the knowledge you've collected and then work it into whatever you're doing, on top of having like this productivity management is pretty much unparalleled in any other tool, right? I mean, in Evernote, this would look like, okay, I'm going to go into my productivity folder and then I'm gonna like, but within that folder, there's gonna be no way to filter for like there kind of is with tags, right? For like stuff that has some of the other tags. But then like if I want to use any of that information, I have to like copy and paste it into a new note. And then I've got like 3 pages open for Evernote. It's just like
Mm.
it's such a ugly, messy system. Whereas this is like it's just beautifully done for creating some of these links. And like jumping in between these different sources and incorporating them without having to repeat yourself, like I haven't found anything that comes really close to this. So uh it does have that learning curve, right? Like it's less intuitive of a tool than something like Evernote, but if you get over that hump, I think you're going to be pretty amazed at like how much more of your own knowledge you're able to reuse and resurface.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And I guess this is probably the same situation with Kindle highlights. You can't. Is there a way to bring them over?
It's kind of ugly. So the tool I love for this is called Readwise. I'm not officially affiliated with them or an investor or anything. It's just the best solution I found. And what they do is they like automatically export your Kindle highlights into
Mm.
Markdown. And then that can automatically export to Evernote, or you can just like go into all of the books that you've highlighted. And, like if I wanted to get these highlights, what I can do is like, these are all my highlights from Energy and Civilization. I could just like copy all of it, and then I'll usually paste it into like Sublime Text to clean it up. Or the other thing you can do is if we go back a level, you can actually export any of your book's notes to Markdown, right? So I can like export this as Markdown, and then once that downloads, you can like open it up and then copy and paste it into your Roam database. So that's like a pretty quick way to do it, and that's how I do it for all of my book notes. But the Readwise is also building a Roam integration right now. So I think in the next few weeks, there's going to be a way to go straight from Readwise into Roam, so that whenever you read a new book or article, it automatically gets dropped into your Roam database.
Nice.
Yeah.
On a side note, how many hours a week do you read? Looking at all of your book notes that you have there.
I mean, I'd say like 1.5 to 3 hours a day between books and articles. It's probably accurate.
Nice. Okay, gonna plow through. We've got quite a few great questions. And by the way, I highly recommend let us know if you are joining the course. I know you have like thousands of people that have gone through this program. But also I think we can follow you on like Twitter if you want to share your social in the chat. Just if you want to stay in touch with Nat. Okay, so question, is it possible to easily share selected knowledge sets with trusted colleagues, team members who use Roam?
Not yet. It's pretty much all or nothing in terms of sharing right now, just because it's sort of like, if I share this page with you, does that automatically share this page with you too? And then if this page is shared with you because of that page, then are you also shared with this page? Right? Like the way it's structured, it's very hard to share a limited set of information, but you can have multiple databases, right? So if you could have like a dedicated shared database, or there's even like, this was a COVID-19 database created by the Roam community that was shared with a bunch of people that like everyone was contributing to together. So you can do stuff like this as well, which is like, make collaborative, what do they call it? They call multiplayer Roam databases, right? So you could do something like this within your work as well.
That's great. Okay, so question from Spencer. This is interesting. On compounding, do you track, quote unquote, track the ROI for your knowledge management? How much value are you getting from the time you spent organizing the knowledge?
Yeah, I guess I don't directly track it, so it's kind of a it's more of a feeling than anything. I mean, one thing I can say is that my newsletters have gotten substantially better and richer from switching to this process, just because it made it so much easier to organize data from a bunch of sources. So it's helped a lot with that, and it's helped a lot with project management. But part of it too is just like that feeling of being organized, and like it's fitting together in a meaningful, useful way, which I never got the same sense of when I was using Evernote or Notion or any of those. And I think that's why Roam has such a strong cult following for the people who have started using it. Because if you've ever been frustrated by feeling like, this is like kind of working for organizing the stuff I'm reading, or like my notes on things, but like not great, you might be surprised at like how much better it feels to start putting stuff in here and interlinking it. Or you might not like it, right? Like it's not necessarily for everyone. You have to be kind of like a knowledge geek, not like not like a super smart geek, but like a geek about learning things, right? Like super interested in absorbing knowledge from different places. And if you're into that, then I think it's pretty special for its ability to facilitate that.
For sure. And I think just like that feeling when you find a system or a tool that works for
Yeah.
you, just like that, the efficiency. Ian says, I use this for journaling a lot and it's natural. Okay, we have, okay, Kent is wondering, is the content all in the same disk file like outlook.psd gigabytes?
Yeah, I mean, it's all stored online on their database, but you can actually export your entire database to Markdown files, right? So, I one, you can export it whenever you want to like just a huge collection of Markdown files. You can re-upload them later if you want, so they're all formatted. The other cool thing Roam does that we don't have that much time to get into, but you can encrypt text in Roam too. And this is like the only note-taking tool I know that does this, but it basically lets you create encrypted text that's like end-to-end encrypted, so that even the Roam team couldn't unlock it. So like I keep my banking details in Roam in case I need them, but they're encrypted text. So even if somebody broke into my Rome database and had my like username password, they couldn't read those blocks, which is pretty neat. I don't know another tool that does that.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, quite again, if we don't get to your question, I highly encourage you to check out what Nat is doing, check out the course. Okay, Martina's wondering, is there a clever way to link synonyms or words with the same meaning in different languages?
Oh, that is a good question. There isn't yet. I know they're trying to find a good solution for this because it is a problem, right? Like as an example, I would really want like YC and like Y Combinator to go to the same page. Or, obviously if you're using multiple languages, you might want, like Mesa and Table to go to the same place, but they don't have that right now. So the best thing you can do is just like pick one that you're going to stick to, and then occasionally see if you accidentally like created a similar page and just merge the two of them. The other thing that I'll do sometimes is if I want to be really clear about something, like for example, there's a book I recently read called Scale, but like scale the word is not what I want linking to it. So I'll do something like scale book, right?
Mm,
Or you can add other details like that to the title of a page to make it really clear what you're referencing.
that's great. And is there a export option? So is it all
Yep.
or nothing? Yep.
Yeah, you can export everything or you can export individual pages.
Brilliant. Okay, Michael's wondering, I've been using Roam since February and I've been keeping all of my notes in here, but I feel like my database has too many changing structures from page to page. I've been
Mm.
spending more time on reorg than actively using my database productively. What exercises would you recommend to use a database to ignore working in the same database? So overusing for creating content.
Yeah, I mean, mine is a complete mess too in that sense because like halfway through adding my book notes, I have completely changed how I do them, and then another halfway through that, I changed it a little bit again. So I mean, if we find like an old set of book notes in here, right? Like none of the metadata that I normally add is at the top here, right? So I've got a bunch of pages I need to go back and clean up the formatting on as well. My philosophy on fixing formatting and like adding additional layers of notation is do it when you need that page. Don't do it before you do, because maybe I'm not going to like use this page for months, and so it's silly for me to go through and like improve the formatting right now. But if I'm working on an article on like management or something and I want to reference this book, that would be a time for me to go in and clean up some of the formatting. So like one of the things I do is I have text expanders for like certain kinds of metadata. So I'll do like XR metadata book, and then I can see like author reading status finished on. Okay, then I'm going to add these to the tags, right? The author is right Bill Walsh, right? So reading status read, and so I might just go through and add this just to make sure that it's in line with the rest of the like books in my collection.
Nice. And I think, okay, see, Michael here has done the course. Caesar has shared some great resources in the chat. And I think our final question for today will come from Raphael, who's
Mhm.
wondering, will aliases come up as a linked or unlinked references, even if they are explicitly marked as aliases? For
Yeah,
example, when, okay,
they come up as linked references. Yeah, yeah.
great. Nat, thank you so much for taking the time to share this and also share your Twitter, so it is linkable. But yeah, really appreciate it. Please, everyone who's watching, keep us posted with how it goes. I'm definitely gonna be going through this course myself, just because I can see all of the different use cases, which I mean, I didn't even know about Rome until we started seeing like your course and everyone was talking about it. So I'm looking forward to even just using it personally. So Nat,
Awesome.
thank you so much for taking the time to be here. And just again, for people watching the replay, where's the best place to stay in touch with you?
Yeah, definitely twitter.com/nataliason. That's where I'm going to be the most responsive, especially to everything Rome related. And also like the Rome community on Twitter in particular is extremely strong. So even if I'm not responding to something, if you add the hashtag Rome cult, like somebody's going to respond in a few minutes. It's a pretty wild community.
That's awesome. I love it when people, it's like with all the different subreddits too, like when people are super
Yeah.
passionate about something. Well, Nat, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. And for those of you watching, I can't wait to see what you get up to as well.
Thanks for having me. Talk soon.